Hello, everyone. I'm off on another adventure today, exploring some unknown stuff that's not familiar to most people, and it was even unfamiliar to myself. This is kind of new territory for myself. As I think I've said in the past, one of the things that I really love doing, not only on this YouTube channel but just in general, is exploring new computer games, and in this case, even kind of a new computer platform that's not really very familiar to me. I'm going to go ahead and let me switch to my old Firefox here. I have to use this old version of Firefox because this version does not force you to install updates. Firefox has gotten ridiculous. It's gotten to the point where it will install updates while you're working, and then it will refuse to open new tabs until you restart it, which is just kind of. I mean, it's just egregious. So yeah, I use this older version and just keep JavaScript disabled because who needs JavaScript anyway? So the site that I that I was looking at, where I kind of discovered the game that I'm going to present to you folks today, is at yrgb.org. Let's go ahead and take a look. What's happening at yrgb.org? So this is an apparently annual competition. I'm already a little bit late for the voting, so here you can see. I think they did. Basically, what they did is it's a series of games created for. I think it says down here. Yeah, for none other than the legendary ZX, or in this case ZX, because it's a British computer. So the ZX Spectrum computer. So basically, people made a bunch of indie games, like a bunch of new games for the ZX Spectrum, and submitted them here to be judged and for people to vote on them for the best game. Which is pretty cool. I always appreciate it when people make new games for these older platforms. I always like seeing when people make new games for, for the Commodore 64, for the Apple II, or, of course, for DOS or stuff like that. And in this case, it's the ZX Spectrum. People are still making games for it. And interestingly enough, yeah, this competition was and is actually being held under the auspices of none other than Yandex, which, if you don't know what Yandex is, it's basically the Russian equivalent of Google. So in Russia, like, the most common search engine is, I think, is Yandex. They probably have the most popular email service. It's basically their equivalent of Gmail. They have their own mapping service. It's basically like Google Maps. And they do other stuff as well. Like, they have a taxi service, which is basically like the Russian Uber, stuff like that. So it's cool to see Yandex doing this. I don't know why they specifically picked the ZX Spectrum, because it's a British computer. It seems to me like it would have made more sense to do this with the Pravets or something like that. The Pravets was a Bulgarian make of computer. It was basically an Apple II clone. It was basically an Apple II clone made in Pravets in Bulgaria, close to Sofia, the capital city, and it was basically the preeminent home personal computer of the Soviet Union, and also of not only of the Soviet Union or the Warsaw Pact, but also the sort of affiliated countries like Vietnam and Cuba. I think they also used Pravets computers because, there's this whole sort of economic union back then of those socialist communist countries. So it might have made more sense for Yandex to hold a competition for Pravets computers, but I guess they wanted it to be a bit more international, because this site is obviously in English, and you'll see the descriptions and things of the games are here in English, even though they're pretty much all made in Russian. You can see up here in the upper right, the site is available in Russian, English, Spanish, and Portuguese. So I mean, it's a Russian competition, mostly participated in by Russian people, and I guess it's just they're trying to make it a bit more international by having it in English and having it made for a computer which was better known in the West, because who was used to Pravets in the West? Probably nobody, or hardly anyone. So anyway, so I'm a bit late with this video. Voting was done until August 20th, so which is already a few days ago now. So yeah, voting is already over. But there's still time to see the awards ceremony on August 30th, which, as the time that I'm making this video, is in 6 days from now. Okay, so anyway, so I was just looking at the games here, and I'll just go and kind of take a quick look at the games. I'm not going to play all of these. I'm just going to play one of these, but I just want to kind of take a quick look through these. So there's this game called Asymmetry, which is a bit of a misnomer because that woman is displaying pretty good symmetry in the location where it counts, let's say. And yeah, it looks kind of like an effort to attract attention to the game and market the game based on her based on certain assets possessed by the woman in the picture. But it's not a bad. It's actually, where's the screenshot? Oh, it's interesting. Why don't we have screenshots here? Huh. Is it because I shrunk the browser? Hold on. If I make the browser window bigger, is it going to start? Let me see what happens. I think. Huh, why is it not? I thought it showed. I thought it did show screenshots. Oh yeah, it's just because the browser window is. I shrunk the browser window to make it fit in the in the video. So okay, so you can see there. I mean, it looks like it's basically a platform game. It's basically a platform action shooter. Just happening to feature a scantily clad woman because why not? So you can see it's made in Russia, as I think pretty much all these games are. Okay, that's unfortunate because if I shrink the browser window to make stuff fit, yeah, the screenshots disappear. That's a little bit unfortunate. But all right, let's see how we can make do. So yeah, the next game is Ataka or Attack. It's it's a military strategy game, not a bad little game. Just kind of, I mean, it's a fairly basic turn-based military strategy game. Yeah, it's a tactical game for one or two players, so you can play it against a human or you can play against the computer. Press R key after victory for continue. How do you keep playing after you win? And you can see, obviously, even the commentary here left by other people are mostly in Russian. There are some English comments as well, but I mean, yeah, it's basically a Russian competition. It's just kind of being done internationally, but it's mostly Russians who made the games and who played the games and rated the games and voted on the games. So here we have a game called Cindy Block. I guess it's a pun on Cinder Block. If I drag out the window, there you go. You can see, I mean, it's basically, it's kind of a puzzle game, kind of, I don't know if I'd call it Tetris, but kind of, sort of like Tetris, almost, maybe, kind of, I don't know. And then Cubics is a cute little it's another platformer. It's the first ever 3D platform for the ZX Spectrum. This, I'm not going to show the videos here, but if you click on these gameplay videos, I think all these games have a little MP4 file that actually shows you in-game gameplay. This game is, well, when I first saw the video, I thought it was a kind of a ripoff of Fez. Hoping that you know what Fez is, that indie game made by Phil Fish, which kind of was considered revolutionary for because of it had that sort of gimmicky gameplay mechanic of being able to rotate the world around in kind of pseudo 3D. It is allegedly, if you look at the comments here for the game, let's take a look at the comments here quickly. Somebody said here, I think was there an English language comment here? Yeah, I mean, there's an English comment here. I thought there was an English comment comparing it to some other game. Yes. It immediately reminded me of the similar classic Nebulous from 1987, including the 3D perspective rotation. So, I thought of Fez. Omedo Concurso thought of Nebulous. You can play all three games and come to your own conclusions about which ones are most similar to which other ones. But anyway, yeah, so nice little platform game, kind of a little bit gimmicky, but that's not too bad. DS Bodyguard, this is an interesting one. This is basically, it looks kind of like Lode Runner at first. When I first saw the screenshot, I thought, is this like a Lode Runner clone? But no, it's kind of like, see, it looks like Lode Runner, but the idea is you've got this crosshairs, like this sniper crosshairs here, and I guess you're supposed to defend this VIP from threats, which is an interesting concept. I have to admit, that's an interesting concept. Not really seen a platform game like this before that does something like that. On the right here we have Escape from the Twilight Castle, which is, I mean, you can see, okay, in this case we actually have an in-game screenshot here. It's kind of a puzzle game, kind of a cool little puzzle game. Yeah, interesting concept. I mean, not bad. Down here we have Frostland, which is it's sort of a little bit like Civilization. Like you start with one little colony and then you kind of build it out from there, try to expand it and make it more. It seems to me that it was kind of based on Civilization. I don't know if it was meant to be, but that's at least what it reminded me of. And then on the right here we have Galactic Nexus, which is basically a space shooter. Fairly average space shooter. Not bad. Oh, this one's from Spain. This is okay. This is one of the few. It might be the only one that was not from Russia. Okay, this is from Spain. Not a bad game, but seems like a fairly average, side-scrolling space shooter. Here we have a game called Generale, and this is another strategy game. So it's basically it's another military strategy game. If I drag out the window, then you'll see, hopefully, what it looks like. Sorry that I keep resizing the window. I'm just trying to... I'm filming this in a slightly lower resolution because of the game that I'm about to play, so that means that I can't fit that much on the screen, and so I'm just trying to drag it out so you can actually see the screenshots that accompany these games. So you can see it's another military strategy game, kind of like the Attack game that we saw before. I mean, it is what it is. It's a military strategy game, not bad. This game here on the right, Gunman Messiah, it kind of reminds me... the concept is basically that you're Jesus who's going on a rampage. Yeah, back on Earth to destroy evil. Kind of this whole sort of... there's this interesting sort of recurring fascination with Jesus, Jesus' second coming, returning as a destroyer, not as a savior, but as a destroyer. That was... relatively recently revealed to be the basis of Black Sabbath's song Iron Man, and it's the premise of this game. And there is actually, if you know the game that this reminded me of, then it will probably remind you of the same game. There's a game called Zero Population Count, or often called ZPC for short, or ZPC or whatever. It's basically the same idea. It's about Jesus returning to Earth and just being this totally destructive conqueror, killing everyone, just basically wiping the earth of all life. The game is mostly notable for its artwork by Iden Hughes. It's actually like produced or designed by Iden Hughes, who is the same guy who did a lot of the album covers for KMFDM. So he has a pretty distinctive art style. If you've seen his art, then you'll recognize it fairly. It has kind of a comic book style. It's kind of a... The game itself is not very good. I would say Zero Population Count is not very good as a game. It just has a distinctive art style, but in terms of how it plays, it doesn't really play very well as a first-person shooter. Oh, this is also from Spain. Yeah, the developer is called Crappy Games. It is kind of a... I have to admit, it's not a very good game. Not necessarily the best game. Probably the worst out of the games in this collection, actually. Not because of the subject matter, but just because it's just not a very good game. It's rather... Actually, no, Night Train Deluxe might be even worse. So Night Train Deluxe is kind of... it seems like it's inspired by Design Your Own Railroad, which I think I featured on my channel before. It seems like it gives you the ability to like put down rail lines and actually run trains on them. Seems like a great idea. It actually is a really good concept, but it's pretty badly executed. I have to be honest, that they didn't really execute it very well here. I mean, I appreciate that it's probably difficult to do something like that very well on the Spectrum, but even the way they did it here is like magnificently bad. Like they could have done a lot better even on the ZX Spectrum. Over here on the left we have Cubanoid, which is another one of these kind of puzzle games, kind of like what was this? Is it kind of like Connect 4 or something like that, or is it? Hold on, let me take a look at the screenshot. Oh yeah, it's Columns. Okay, that's right. Yeah, this is Columns. It's just Columns, which is not bad at all. I mean, Columns is not a bad game. This is a decent Columns clone. Pretty. I mean, it's a decent, competently made Columns clone. It's just nothing really remarkable. It's Columns. Down here we have Runaway Nose. This is the game that I'm going to play, so I'm going to come back to this one. This is the game that kind of stood out for me, and this is what I'm going to come back to. Sib City, as you can guess, it really is a SimCity clone. I mean, it's basically SimCity with a little bit of a Russian historical twist. You were called to lead Tobolsk, the first city in Siberia, found a Russian Symphony 87. So yeah, it's a like historical simulation, or well. the concept is historical, but I doubt that it's very realistic. I don't think that's meant to be a realistic simulation of what it was like to build Tobolsk. It really is basically just like a ZX Spectrum clone of SimCity, and it's not badly done, but it has the same sort of limitations as SimCity itself and other kind of SimCity games. Yeah. This reviewer says, "Отличная игра, надо, конечно, больше времени." So yeah, it's a great game, but you need more time. It would have needed more time to really do what you want to do within the limits of 48 kilobytes. So I mean, all these games obviously have the limitations that they were developed for the Spectrum. That's part of the fun. That's kind of the fun of these competitions, of seeing what you can do with the rather limited memory and graphical capabilities of a computer like this. And the last one is just called Travel Unlimited, and this is interesting. It's a it says a spin-off of the Travel Through Time series. It reminds me of Crazy Cars 3. If any of you have played, oh, here we go. Here are the prizes and things. So prizes are like, yeah, prizes are basically money. They have prizes for best gameplay, for best graphics, best sound, and then for your choice, for the viewer's choice, voter's choice. Well, I just want to make the window a little larger so we can see the screenshot of Travel Unlimited. You can kind of, sorry, yeah, it's kind of cutting off, but you can kind of see it here. It's basically like Crazy Cars 3 and those kinds of. I mean, Crazy Cars 3 was later re-released in a slightly different form as Lamborghini American Challenge. But if you see in the game, or similar games, I mean, there are many similar games. It's also kind of similar to Outrun and stuff like that. So there are lots of similar games. It's a pretty good game. Yeah, and as they say, there's no storyline here. It's just a racing game, and that's kind of, I think, what sort of you could say about most of these games. These are not bad games at all. Most of them are very well designed. Most of them make good use of the technical limitations of the ZX Spectrum platform. But I think what kind of struck me is they're mostly just clones of existing concepts. I mean, this is a fairly basic platformer. I mean, it's not bad, but you've seen platformers before. It's kind of like Turrican or probably hundreds of other games that are kind of similar. This is, it's a kind of basic military strategy game. Not bad. It's just, we've seen countless games like that before. Stuff like this. This was a little more original, but it's still just basically like a block puzzle game, kind of like Tetris, not exactly. And this is, again, it's like a similar to a couple of other games that have been released. This was a little bit original, but not that original. This is, okay, it's like another puzzle game. These are all fairly simple sort of genre games. This is another, sort of settlement game, like, I don't know, like I said, Civilization was the one that came to mind. There are probably other games that you'd compare it to. This is a very basic space shooter, which is, again, not bad. Like, I'm not necessarily criticizing these games. I'm just saying they all sort of conform fairly closely to established genres. None of these really break out of, they don't really break new ground in any way. I mean, this kind of is an original idea, but it's unfortunately so badly executed that they, I mean, again, probably largely limited by the constraints of the ZX Spectrum platform. SimCity, it's a very obvious SimCity clone, which is, again, not bad. And, this car racing game. Now, I'm going to now turn my attention to Runaway Nose. So what's the deal with this game? It is basically an adventure game, and it kind of highlights for me again how, for me personally, adventure games have always defined, again, for me personally, what computer gaming is about. Adventure games are basically games where you can just walk around freely. So, there's usually no time limit. I don't like time limits in games. I like being able to take my time. There's not much focus on combat because I don't feel the need to constantly be fighting things. I mean, a little bit of combat now and then might make things a little exciting, but I don't really like constant combat. That's boring. There's no score. It's not about getting the most points. It's not about quick reflexes. It's just about exploring the environments. You're given an environment to walk around and explore. Cool. That's really, for me, what defines computer gaming. And there's this whole sort of larger idea, which I've also spoken about in the past, that this is sort of the whole point of open world games, open world sandbox games. That's kind of what computing was always going toward. It was always going towards this sort of ultimate end goal of computer games where you have just this world that you can explore. You can just walk around the open map and explore. So that's kind of what adventure games have been about ever since they have existed, which is pretty much since the beginning of computing. And, this game, Runaway, knows it's not massively original in terms of its gameplay. If I show you a screenshot, I mean, I'm going to play the game, so there's not really any need to show a screenshot. But you can see it's a game where you walk around. It's just a game where you walk around like any adventure game. It's not necessarily that special in terms of how it's played. Comment here, respect na originalnost, so respect for originality. It's not really original in terms of the gameplay at all. It's more original in terms of the concept. But yeah, this is just the kind of game that I love to play because it's just about exploration. It's about just walking around, exploring the environment, talking to different people, interacting with all the objects and things that you find in the environment. This is the kind of game that I love to play, and so I wanted to make a video about this game for you folks today. So, sorry for the long preamble. I wanted to kind of introduce these games just to kind of give some context and tell you where I'm coming from, how I found this game, and what inspired me to play this game. What kind of struck me about this game. I mean, it strikes me in contrast to the other games. Again, these other games are basically like typical action or strategy or puzzle games, which is not bad, not at all bad. I have nothing against such games, but the game genre that really defines gaming for me is the adventure genre. So let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and switch the window now. I'm going to go ahead and switch to Fuse. This is Fuse, which I believe, what does it stand for? The, something like the, I believe it stands for the Free Unix Spectrum Emulator. Because it originally came out in Unix, but there is a Windows version. I'm doing this on Windows, so this is not. I'm not doing this on Linux or Unix. This is running on Windows. There is a Windows port. So yeah, let's go ahead and I'm just gonna go ahead and run the game. I'm just gonna go ahead and I already downloaded the TAP file, which is the tape file. Basically, it's like a simulated cassette tape that you'd put into the Spectrum. So I'm just going to go ahead and run the tape file for Run Nose. And here we go. The game's called Runaway Nose. Before I start, I am going to go ahead and press 4 to redefine the keys. So I'll just do I'll do the arrow keys. So up is up arrow, down is down arrow, left arrow, right arrow. Exhale. I guess I'll just do space. Pause can be P, and exit is, I'll say X, why not? So yeah, this is already version 1.4, so I guess this game went through a few revisions. The two options in the middle for Kempston and Sinclair, those are alternate joystick controls because the Spectrum had different sort of joystick standards. But I'm going to play with the keyboard anyway, so I'll just press 1 to play with the keyboard. And here we go. This is the game. This is Run Nose, or Runaway Nose. Actually, it's Runaway Nose. Yeah, the tape file is called Run Nose, but it's actually the full name of the game is Runaway Nose, I guess. So we just see a guy, I guess, sleeping in his bed with a nice picture on the wall. But if I start using the arrow keys, whoo, look at that. His nose is taking its leave of its owner. And that's how you run away from your owner. So the way that this game works is you walk around, and if you touch something that has a smell, like in this case that dog, you now have the smell of that thing inside you, and you can project it at things or people for 30 seconds. You basically retain it inside your nose or inside yourself, I guess because you are a nose, for 30 seconds. So for example, if I try to go this way, it says you're allergic to cats and cannot come any closer. But if I exhale at the cat ran away. So that's how we get past this. Those guys, those guards with the hats, they are going to try and catch us. And I guess that picture there shows us and says 100, is that P? 100, I guess there's, or is that an F? I think this might take place in France, actually. I'm not sure where this is. It's somewhere in... I feel like it might be in France. I don't know. Somewhere like that. So it's either like 100 francs. Maybe there's a 100 franc reward for catching us as a nose, as a runaway nose. Or maybe it's 100 pence if it's in England. I don't know. Anyway, Yeah, it says pain there. I know it's well, yeah, I know it says pain in English, but that's of course because of the French flags. It's kind of a giveaway that it's meant to be pain, which of course is the French word for bread. And yeah, it's a boulangerie, which is yeah a bakery. So here inside the boulangerie, we can get the smell of garlic on the left, or we can get the smell of bread on the right. Both possibly useful smells. You see that guy is spinning around, so what you don't want to do is get into his field of view when he's looking at you because he will try to run at you and catch you. So over here we've got another cat. So the question is, how do we get the smell of dog down here to get past this cat? I don't think we can do this right now because if we use the smell of dog to get past the cat where we came from, then you lose the smell of dog after that. So you'll need to get it again to use it on the cat here. How do you do that? Well, it's not something we can do right now. We'll have to come back here and do that later. So, yep, see the guy? That guy tried to catch us. These guys aren't very smart. They just will run directly at you like that. So they're relatively easy to avoid, but yeah, do make sure to avoid them because otherwise you'll get arrested, which we'll probably do later, but not right now. So here is a hat shop, and the Schnabel, who's inside the hat shop says, "Who goes there?" He obviously is... My hat is not for sale. Obviously, he's not very well sighted. He probably has problems with his vision. So we communicate with him. He'll recognize us by smells. So for example, here on the street, we have more smell of bread because it's France. So of course you do. And if we exhale the smell of bread at him, "Hallo, Herr Baker." I guess this guy's German, so he thinks we're a baker because he smells bread on us. Okay, that's nice. So yeah, that's pretty obvious, and you can see the effects of the ZX color limitation here because like color is assigned to whole regions of the screen, so that's why we turn yellow when we get into this area here. It looks kind of ridiculous, but yeah, that's how the spectrum worked with color. So, okay, so that's a guy who identifies people by their smell. Here's a horse-drawn carriage, but there's no cabman, so we can't make use of it now. If we come up here, the writer Stogol lives here, and one of his characters. This is a fairly obvious parody of Gogol, Nikolai Gogol, who is best known for writing Dead Souls, and I guess that's one of his characters. Actually, unfortunately, I didn't read Dead Souls, so I don't know who that character is supposed to be, but I guess that is a vampire there. And actually, Fuse does have save states. If you go to the file menu and click on Save Snapshot, it will ask you to type in a file name. You can type in any file name, and then it will actually save your current state as a save state. So I've just done that because if I touch this guy here, the Vordalux bite turns you into a Nosferatu. So you see that hunger meter in the upper right? Now we have to continually kill things. Like we've just killed that horse, which sated our hunger for blood for just a little while. I tried to kill that guard, but instead I got arrested and got my nose print taken, and I died. You succumb to your vampiric... Is it vampiric or vampire? I don't know. Vampiric hunger. So yeah, there are a few ways to die in this game. So that's why I made a save state. So let's go ahead and open up that... I'm going to go into the file menu and choose Open, which is also how you open the tape files, but if you have a save state file, you can use Open to open the save state file, which should take us back to here. There we go. So yeah, before we deal with that vampire, we'll need a way to deal with him. And what do vampires hate? Well, as we all know, vampires' weakness is not hats, but garlic. So here we have the smell of garlic on us now. And if we go back... It's a little bit of a tricky area here. You kind of have to walk between those things and make sure you don't touch them, because otherwise you get the smell of bread instead of the smell of garlic or whatever other smell you have inside your nose right now. So we can come up here, and this guy does touch us, but if you hit him with the smell of garlic, he turns to dust and you are freed from his curse. Nice. And he leaves us with a nice little cloud working at the smell of sulfur, which we'll use later. Stogol says, "So, your runaway nose? I can't make a story out... Oh, wait, I can make a story out of it. Please have some snuff. It's a rare Turkish tobacco. Only me and State Councillor Van Doren have this." Oh, so it's an exclusive form of tobacco, you say? It's a very exclusive tobacco which only two VIPs in the city have, huh? Is that right? Well, let's take a look at this then and see what we can do with that. Since this guy identifies people by smell, here's your hat, your highborn. Hey, look at what we got now. We have the same kind of hat that these guys are wearing. And now they don't chase us anymore. And even if we go up to them and touch them and walk over them, they don't do anything to us. Hey, we've just gained immunity to these city, I guess they're police. Cool. That's how you get immunity to the city police. That's what the smell of the snuff is valuable for. The smell of this sulfur, I don't think that the hat maker will react very well to that. Let's see what he thinks about that. No bicorns? Is that bicorn? Is that a French word? I don't know what that is. No, whatever that is here for your horny head, Herr Devil. Nein, weg mit dir, Herr Teufel. Okay. So, let's see. Should we go down or let's go down here for a moment. Whom do we have here? This appears to be another famous Russian writer. So above we had Gogol. Here we have Pushkin. He says he's called Hanny. But he says, I can write a poem about you, but I need a good rhyme. Where could we get a good rhyme? I'm going to assume that since all communication in this game is done by smells, we will need to transmit a good smell to Mr. Pushkin there, or Mr. Henny, as the game calls him. Would he be able to write a good poem based on sulfur? Let's check it out. Nose sulfur? Sorry, it's not a good rhyme. Okay, so he wants something that rhymes with nose. What rhymes with nose? Perhaps we will find out later. But we have to do that later. All right, so let's come back here, and yeah, so this guy would catch us if we didn't have the... Actually, I think you can sneak by this guy. If you don't have the hat, you can sneak by the guy like that. When he's facing away, just go by. When he's facing away from you, you can do that as well. But let's see, what have we here? Ooh, what's this building here? Is this a... I guess it's a church. Yeah, this is a church. So here we get the smell of incense, and over here we have a priest who says, apologies, your highborn, but you can't enter. We are not allowed in the inner sanctum there. All right, so what's down here? Oh, this is the prison. Yeah, we can't go in. This is the prison where we get taken if we're arrested. Well, we can't go there anymore because we are immune to the police now because of this hat. Oh yeah, and here also, you would obviously without the hat we couldn't walk through here. Let me just save. Let me do another save state here quickly. Say save snapshot. And yeah, so again, if we didn't have the hat, we couldn't walk through here. But since we do have the hat, we can just walk out, and that's it. And that's how you escape from the city, never to return. Cool. That's one of many endings to the game. So this game has multiple endings. I'm going to try to show you as much of the game as I can. So let me show you how the prison works. So if you get arrested by one of these guys, yeah, you get arrested and you get your nose print taken, you can simply walk out. You can just walk out this way. Like you can literally just walk out of prison. It's not that difficult to do. And you can, as far as I can tell, you can get arrested as many times as you want. It doesn't really make much difference. There is one thing in the prison that's kind of, yeah, see here I'm going to have to sneak by this guy because I don't have the hat. There is one thing in the prison that's kind of, I guess, meaningful, sort of, kind of. I think we need, for that, I think we will need the smell of the dog again. So let's come back to the beginning here. Oh wait, how do I... I can't even go this way because... Oh, whoops. I actually almost made it past that guy. Okay, let's try that again. I mean, I could just restart the game, but actually I didn't even realize you'd go... I did not even realize you could just walk past that guy. I always thought you had to get through the cat. But let's see now. If I just quickly run past that guy, can I actually, does that actually work? So just quick, no, it didn't. Okay, you know what? Let's just restart the game. How do I restart the game? I need a way to die without, not to get caught, but to die. How do I die? I'm actually not aware of many ways to die now that I think about it. If you want to die deliberately, I mean, one way is okay. Let's do it. Let's do that with the vampire. Get caught by the vampire, and we can kill the horse to stay alive a little bit longer. But generally speaking, well, that's interesting. As a vampire, I seem to permanently disable these smell clouds. That's interesting. Huh. That's interesting. You can like eat the smell of bread clouds as a vampire. I didn't even realize that. Okay, so what I wanted to do though was get the dog smell and then go to prison. Because if we go this way to the left, there's another cat we need to get by. And now we can hear the words of this madman. We can't see our noses because they're all on the moon. They're also very hungry. Is he a madman? Is he just saying totally crazy things? Or is that a hint? Well, it might be a hint. Our noses are all on the moon, and they're also very hungry. What could that tell us? Anyway, that's all we need to really do with the prison. I think there's nothing else to see in the prison, so I'm going to go ahead and say open and load my save state, which takes us back here. Yeah, okay, so we saw how we can escape the city here. So that's one ending. The game has a few multiple endings. So that's one possible ending to the game. All right, so we have already seen a lot of the game. We've seen everything we need to know about the prison now. I think we're done with the prison. I think we've seen everything we can do here. There's nothing we can do here except escape. So we're finished on those two screens. What can we do here? Well, getting the incense is useful, and we need to get past that priest in the upper right, but we'll do that a little bit later. What have we not seen yet? Let's see. What have we not yet done? Okay, I guess we can do this guy's rhyme now because we're protected by the hat. So let me go ahead and do this. I'm going to go ahead and... gonna go ahead and since we can now freely walk around with the smell of dog, just walk right past this guy without getting arrested, I'm gonna go down here, use the smell of dog on the cat to make the cat run away. And what do we get down here? The smell of rose. And I bet you can guess what rose rhymes with. So let's go ahead and check out that writer who wanted to make a good... Here we have to be a little bit careful that we don't lose the smell of the rose. I mean, if you lose it, you can just go back and get it again, but it's just annoying to get it taken away from you because you touched the bread smells. So we come down here, come down to the stumped writer Hanny, and nose, rose, this just might work. Thanks. Okay, so... Is he going to do something else now? Is that it? Are you done? Did you make a great rhyme? Well, if I leave and come back... Nothing? Are you done? Is that all we do here? Okay. Okay, I guess that's all we do there. Cool. All right. Okay. Thanks, Pushkin. Yeah, and I mean, stuff like, I mean, you can try all the different spells in the game on the Hat Maker. There's a, there's a limited number of smells that you can use on him. We've tried bread on him. He thinks we're a baker. What happens if we use garlic on him? What does he say to some garlic? Was hält von Knoblauch? I sell no hats for the likes of you. If you smell like garlic, he doesn't have a hat for you. Okay. What about the smell of dog? I'm gonna assume he doesn't make hats for dogs, but let's find out. Going to assume that dogs don't wear hats very much in this town. Go away, you dirty dog. Fair enough. I'd probably say the same thing if I went to a hat shop and a stray dog just walked in. What about the smell of rose? I'm gonna need the dog smell to get the rose again, because the cat will be in the way otherwise. Let's come up here and get the smell of dog. And use it on the cat, so the cat runs away. Now we can get the smell of rose. I smell my rose. Very good taste. No. And make sure we don't touch the bread smells here. And I sell only men's hats here, lady. All right. Okay, I think we've hit him with most of the smells that we have now. What? Oh, we didn't hit him with the sulfur. Let's try the sulfur. What does he say to the sulfur? Oh, I did do that. I did try that. Okay. I think the only other smell that I haven't tried then is the incense, which we get from the church over here. So let's see. What does he say to the incense? Let's go and grab incense and go back and hit the hat maker with it and see what his reaction is. I'm just trying to show all the different things in the game. I mean, it's not a very big game. There's not necessarily that much to see and do in the game, so I'm trying to show off the relatively limited things that the game has. I sell no religious headwear here, so he thinks we're a religious figure because we smell of incense. Okay, so I think we're done with the hat maker. I think that's all we can see and do with the hat maker. Just get those different responses. I mean, get the hat is the most important thing, and then if you want to be entertained by his different responses, you can hit him with the different smells and see what he says to them, but that's it. As far as bat goes, as far as the baker goes, we've already used the garlic with the vampire. I don't think we need the bread smell anymore, and if we do, we can always... Oh, wait, I get it. Now I understand. These things are not just the smell of bread. They are actual bread. They're probably actual pieces of bread. That's why we get the smell of bread from them. And that's why the vampire could eat them. I get it. The vampire can eat those pieces of bread. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so if the vampire is sustained by the bread... Can we come all the way here? I'm just trying to figure out if there's something else we can do with the vampire state, because since the vampire needs to be constantly sated, he's always hungry. But even if we go over there, like what do we do as a vampire over there? I don't know. I think we've seen most of the stuff that the game has already. I think we've already seen... yeah, we've already finished up there. So the way that you deal with... So you figure there must be some use for this smell of sulfur, right? Yeah. The sulfur is used on the priest in the church. So let's go ahead and do that. Ah, you must be the devil incarnate. And he just runs away. So now we can go into the inner sanctum back there. So that's basically where I'm going to finish the game. Just checking down here. Is there anything else here that I missed? No, I don't think so. We've already finished with the prison. We've already seen this. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save here. Because this is now kind of like the end of the game. This is the most complicated part. This is where things get a little bit crazy. So if we come in here, we find this guy named... Los, he says, I need a companion for my trip to Mars. So we cannot go anywhere else in this room. I guess we can go back outside, but the only other place we can really go here is inside the spaceship. This is a 2-horsepower space vessel, yes. So, you're passing near the moon. Okay, that's the moon there. And now we're approaching Mars. Hey, here we are on Mars. Be careful. So, is there anything we can do here on Mars? Doesn't really look like it. Over here, there's not much here on the left. All right, can we go back inside the spaceship? No, we can't. As you step closer, the guard raises his gun. You retreat. Okay, so there are a couple of Martians there, but they seem kind of hostile. Can I do something with them? As you approach the Martians again, the guard shoots you. The shot doesn't kill you, but you're captured and imprisoned. You spend the rest of your days working in dusty uranium mines. Okay, that was obviously a bad ending. So what can we do with those guys on Mars? Well, the incense being right here is kind of a hint. It's also the last smell that we haven't really used. We haven't really made any use of the incense in this game. And yeah, that thing with the moon, we'll come back to that in just a second. But first, let's go ahead and go to Mars. And let's try just exhaling incense at this guy. This smell pleases the Martians. You're allowed to stay as guests of the Queen. Later from radio transmission, you've learned that a nose rebellion broke out on Earth. Is that the end? That's one ending to the game. Okay, so you can go to Mars and I guess just live there as the guest of the Queen for the rest of your nose life and hear about the nose rebellion on Earth. So I think the only last thing that I haven't shown is the moon. So let me go ahead and try this. I'm going to go ahead and try taking the smell of bread because remember they said the noses are very hungry on the moon. We'll see what he meant by that in just a second. And to get onto the moon, you have to time it a bit. You have to actually, yeah, there you go. You landed on the dark side of the moon. You know, I'm going to save here for just a second. So yeah, we're on the dark. We landed on the dark side of the moon, and on the light side of the moon, we have our noses. So all the noses are there. And this dark side of the moon is actually a little maze. You can't really see it, but I can't just freely walk around here. I have to kind of figure out where the paths... Oh, here we go. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't even realize you could... Okay, I never managed that before. I never managed to actually get onto the light side of the moon. Unfortunately, I lost my smell of bread. So let me restore my save state. Let me see if I can hit these noses with the bread, with the smell of bread, because... yeah, there we go. Hungry noses of the moon eagerly accepted your promise of bread. Okay, cool. Can I do anything else with the noses here? Okay. No, but we can fall back down to Earth. Your hat slowed your descent, allowing you to land safely. Unfortunately, the police have learned of your true identity and your exploits. But you are not alone. Thanks to Stogol's new story and Hanny's poem, other noses have learned about you and left their faces to join your cause. The feral noses from the moon also followed you to Earth. A nose rebellion has begun. So this ending is actually the culmination of several things. I mean, if we hadn't gotten Stogol his story, if we hadn't gotten Hanny his poem, or if we hadn't given the smell of bread to the noses on the moon, those parts would just be missing from here. So we'd still get basically the same ending, but just those sentences would be missing from this conclusion. But we did everything. We gave the story to Stogol, we gave the poem to Hanny, and we gave the promise of bread to the noses on the moon. And so the Nose Rebellion is in full swing. It fulfilled all the conditions. This is probably the most complicated ending of the game because you have to give the story to Stogol, you have to give the poem to Hanny, and you have to give the smell to the noses. And then if you can do all that and sail back down to Earth with the safety of your hat, then you get this ending, which I think is probably the true ending of the game. You can also fall back down to Earth without the hat. If you never get the hat, you can still go through all this, but then it says you got injured in the fall or something because you didn't have your hat with you. But this is like, I think, the truest ending of the game. This kind of brings everything together that you've done in the game. So this is probably the game's, I would say, truest ending. So there we go. Best ending. We got the best ending on Runaway Nose. And that's it. This has been Let's Play Runaway Nose. Thank you for watching, everyone. Hope that you've enjoyed. Hope that this was entertaining for you. It was very interesting for me to kind of see a game from a platform that I don't really play on very much. I mean, I was aware of the ZX Spectrum, of course. I know about the computer, but I never had one, and I have not played a lot of ZX Spectrum games. So again, it's nice to see that people are still making games for these old platforms. It's nice to see a kind of a creative game like this, kind of a game with a little bit of an interesting plot twist kind of being made for retro platforms like that. And I was very happy to be able to play this, and I was happy to be able to share this with you folks. So again, I hope that you've enjoyed, hope that it was fun to watch, and yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. Take care of yourselves. I will talk to all of you later. Ta-ta for now.